Hi, everyone. A very warm welcome to this session of Let Us Talk It Older Youth webinar. We welcome all of you who have joined in on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. It's our immense pleasure to say that the youth, they find some value in this platform and they join every week. And if you want to see that value, add that value to your kids' life, then please do know about Let Us Talk It platform. And we do these webinars every week. And we do it in a proper way where prep sessions are conducted and then only we go live. And this is not our only initiative that we feel would contribute to an empowered and informed community, but we also have other initiatives that go hand in hand, and we welcome new ideas, new ventures. So if you have any, do email us at webinar@letustalkit.com. And like that, one of the ideas that we found very interesting, and we would request all of you who find in new ideas, excited about new ideas, you can join our initiative, which we will be talking about today as a startup at 5:30 p.m. EST. And the initiative's name is Gamify Your Goals. Sounds interesting, but you don't understand what it is about. It's simple, but and it's fun. It's for kids, it's for parents, it's for family as a whole. So there are very few things that we find that we can do as a family. And this is one initiative. Let Us Talk It got very involved, and Let Us Talk It wants to showcase is because the family is involved. You can reach your goals as a family. And to know more about it, you can join the orientation session today at 5:30 p.m. EST. The Zoom link is same as for the webinar, so whichever the Zoom link that you have will work. And if you have any questions, you can also just write it in any of the WhatsApp group, or you can even email us at webinar@letustalkit.com. So yeah, that's our next thing for the day. But right now, our youth, they are excited to share with you a very important topic, and really related to these startups, initiatives, organization as a whole. And the topic is success and failure behind an organization, behind a business. So we all know about the leadership, management, planning, all is necessary for a successful business. But still, knowing everything, sometimes a business fails. And so our kids are trying to search, went deep into to see why some companies who started off well somehow failed, and those who started off and is carrying out great. So what are their strategies, what are their plans? So I'm sure this will be something quite interesting for our new generation, as well as those who are in business right now. And if you can join in to give your feedback, comments, we have our community interaction session at 5 just after the webinar. So please do feel free to join and comment. And so we begin today's session, and we have an exciting team of panelists here. We have Hasni, Ahana, Nihar, Pehel, Pranav as guest speaker, Virat, Vivan, and as a moderator, we have Arush. Over to you, Arush. All the best.
Thank you, Julananti. Hi, my name is Arush, and I'm going to be your moderator for this week. So today's topic is successful and failed businesses. All of us picked out one successful business and one failed business that's somewhat similar, like one entertainment business and another entertainment business. So first we're gonna learn about us as panelists, and then we're gonna go right into the successful and the failed businesses. After that, we're gonna have a Q&A interaction session. So my name is Arush, and I'm a seventh grader at Baker Middle School. And some things I like to do is read books, play video games, and watch TV.
Hi everyone, my name is Hassani and I'm a seventh grader at Ruther Middle School in Michigan. And some things I enjoy doing are playing tennis, doing kuchipudi dance, and watching Netflix.
Hi everyone, my name is Ahana Arun Kumar and I'm a fifth grader in Michigan. Some of the things I like to do for my hobbies are I love drawing and I like to do online games. Today I'll be talking about the success and failure behind the companies Tesla and the Tata Nano cars.
Hello everyone, my name is Behel and I'm a seventh grader in Michigan. Some things I like to do are sports such as swimming and tennis.
Hi everyone, my name is Nihar Zanta, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how Blockbuster and Netflix, how such a rivalry could have suddenly been reduced to something so little, but ended up becoming something very big.
Hello, my name's Vivan, and things I like to do are playing with the Arduino and watching science videos. And I'm going to be talking about the healthcare industry.
Hello, everybody. My name is Virat, and I really like experimenting with science things, and I also like saying if what I can do to some technologies, like if I can do something to them, like I have an Arduino, I would usually see if I can create like a flashlight or something like that. So I really like experimenting with things, and for my topic, I chose LG and Radio Shack, so I'm going to be explaining those two companies.
So first, we have Ivan talking about his healthcare industries.
Hello, I'm Vivan, like I introduced myself, and I'm going to be talking about the healthcare industry. But what is first? Haven Healthcare. This was the failing business. So let's talk about why it failed. So let's find the timing. What was the timing? When did they start? They started in COVID. In COVID, many people were trying to help COVID and cure people and like allow other people to survive. But at this time, Haven Healthcare came out, and most of these healthcare providers are usually coming in, which are like which came before COVID, where there was a normal environment, there was no COVID, and there was nothing to worry about. But Haven Healthcare during this time, since they came, they didn't have any proper equipment to treat COVID. So nobody came to them because obviously COVID was main and nobody else wanted like treatment for fever or pains. And then the market power. Even though they have like 12 million employees, they weren't able to get many people to fund in for them or invest for them to grow. So they were unable to succeed in the market. Then their incentives were to eradicate diseases and cure them instead of just treating them. So, what's the difference? Well, normal healthcare providers usually treat them. So people weren't really set on Haven Healthcare's incentives, so nobody decided to work with them. Like I said, they weren't able to get any market power. Next slide. Oh, okay, thanks. The Now I'm going to be talking about the timing, market, and incentives of CVS Healthcare. CVS Healthcare came in a time where we all used to do our daily things. And CVS Healthcare is very well known. It's around everywhere, and it came out in a time where there wasn't COVID, there wasn't like SARS, any viruses to treat that they wouldn't be able to work because there's nobody who would want to work with them. So they had great timing. That also wasn't their thing. Market. Since you see CVS every day and you probably use CVS every day, they got help from many people and they were funded by many people. They spent a lot into uh, getting people hired on production. So they grew in the market. For their incentives, they were working on providing a better life for everyone. So they gave medicines and things like that. Next slide. So, well, since we covered Haven Healthcare and CVS Healthcare, we're going to be talking about their accomplishments. Haven Healthcare didn't do much. In fact, they didn't do anything because since there was COVID, they were unable to treat anyone who tried to come to their hospital. Uh, But they did order like other hospitals nearby. And then there was CVS Healthcare, which now CVS Healthcare isn't a hospital, but it does provide things like drugs and medicines to help against COVID. So, next slide. And what's the progress? Haven Healthcare didn't even make it. There are certain phases in business. CVS Healthcare did make it very far. They're getting support from many people, and they've spread over all over America. Can you click? Okay, the phases. First, number one has entered market. Haven Healthcare has done this. They went into the market of healthcare industry. So they tried to provide two, introduce competition. Haven Healthcare didn't get to be big enough to introduce competition to nearby healthcare providers or things like that. But competition is not necessarily what we want in healthcare. But Haven Healthcare didn't even make it to phase two. So I think that's not necessarily a good start for Haven. Then, number three, stable growth. The company grows pretty good and the production is good. Everyone will want to come to them. CVS Healthcare, I think, definitely went into this phase because, as you can see, the CVS stores are everywhere. And like I said, you're probably going to use them. And number four, gain high support. CVS Healthcare has also made this too because they're gaining high support from the growth. And number five, I don't think CVS has necessarily came into here, but expansion to market and company. They add things to market that more people will start competing in, and they'll expand their company too. Like, if CVS Healthcare was to move into this phase, they would probably move down to Mexico and move up to Canada. So they would take over the whole North America continent in healthcare. So I think those are the great phases of business. And I think Haven Healthcare didn't have a great start, while CVS Healthcare is a great healthcare provider.
Thank you, Vivan, on your brilliant explanation on on Haven Healthcare and CVS Healthcare, how they were successful and how they failed. I think it was really interesting about that Haven Healthcare was gone by COVID. I know a lot of businesses were gone by COVID, but I never expected healthcare was one of them. Now Hasni is going to talk about her topic.
Thank you, Irish. So, success is something everyone wants to achieve. It can be achieved with hard work and discipline, while failure, not something people would aim for. But sometimes things fail in life, and that's all right. You can look at what you did wrong and improve it to make it better than it was before. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but just a learning experience. So, without further ado, let's get started. Some of the 7 steps to success are to start by setting your goal by really committing, seeing your goal as a journey that has your intention waiting for you at the end of it, making adjustments as you go, being consistent and having a schedule, and expecting to succeed while being positive and not having any negative thoughts, and to take pride in what you believe and are doing. So now, moving on to the main part of what I'll be talking about. On the next slide, I'll be talking about one company that succeeded and one that failed. They are alike in products-wise, but not in tactics and strategy-wise. So as we have all heard about before, and many have been to as kids, Toys R Us was the place. I remember going there tons of times when I was younger with my brother and mom. I would buy loads and loads of toys. I probably wouldn't even have my childhood without it. But Toys R Us declared bankruptcy after struggling with a heavy load of debt caused by a buyout in 2005, including competition from Amazon, Target, and Walmart. The company owed more than $5 billion. Even as it went bankrupt, the original Toys R Us accounted for about a fifth of toy sales in the US. So competition is a big aspect in every business. The better deals and prices typically get more customers. Some of the reasons that they went out of business is because of terrible timing. Toys R Us filed for bankruptcy in September instead of shortly after the holiday shopping season, which turned out to be disastrous. It was extremely bad luck for them. And during a period in which the company needed to focus primarily on executing a strong holiday season, the bankruptcy case was an epic distraction. And not just for executives and employees, but for customers too. Another reason was because vendors got easily scared. In retail, nervousness is contagious. Although the details were unclear, Toys R Us said it faced unexpected delays and disruptions in product supplies during its bankruptcy, which just made their situation worse. So due to these, Toys R Us had to sadly go out of business. On the other hand, Toy Box Michigan is doing great with some struggles within. Although they are both toy stores, they use different strategies in business and they had better timing. But we have to keep in mind that Toys R Us had lots of competition as it was super popular. But while many haven't heard of Toy Box Michigan, and it was very it didn't have too much competition, is really what I'm trying to say. And with far fewer shoppers heading to malls this year, a toy store at Lakeside Mall decided to move their business elsewhere. So the Toy Box store opened a new store across the street from the mall. But for the first few weeks it was open, they did not do so well with customers. By adapting with the times and offering more personalized services amid the pandemic, however, the store owners were able to find success. However, COVID-19 is casting a large shadow over the business world and many companies, including some US small businesses, which are really struggling to cope with the financial losses. And another aspect is that the toy industry relies heavily on China for its parts, making it particularly vulnerable to manufacturing closures throughout the country. It's the world's largest toy maker, responsible for approximately 80% of toys sold in the US. And as you guys may know, on lots of stuff that you buy on the back, it always says made in China. This kind of relates to that. And the slowdown in production is putting the toy industry at risk of another year of declining sales. Thank you.
Thank you, Hasani, on the wonderful presentation on how the toy sales are decreasing. I always thought how Toys R Us was bankrupt. I thought Amazon was doing something or something. I used to think that, but now I know that it's because it had huge competition. So now Pehel is talking about Spicejet.
Hello everyone, I'll be talking about two airline companies. Before I do, I would like to share my take on success. Ayush, can you go back a slide? Back, yeah. One more. Yeah, okay. Thank you. So here you can see I picked a quote and it says, "Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out." To me, this quote means that success cannot be achieved without effort. And you can't achieve success in one day. You have to work towards it. And can you go to the next slide? Okay. Thank you. Here I'll be talking about Spicejet, a successful airline company. Here are some questions I'll be talking about. Number one, what is Spicejet Airlines? Spicejet is an Indian low-cost airline headquartered in Haryana. It is the second largest airline and has a market share of 13.6% as of March 2019. Second question is, when was it formed? It was formed in 2011 and has a market share of 13.6%.
Behel, we can't hear you.
Is this a good airline? Well, Spicejet has 3-star low-cost airline for the quality of its airport and onboard product and staff service. Number 5, achievements. Now, Spicejet has won CIO 100 Award from CIO magazine for its technological innovations in the industry. Next slide. Thank you. Here I'll be talking about the failed company, Kingfisher. What is Kingfisher Airlines? Kingfisher Airlines was a limited entire group based in India. Until December 2011, Kingfisher Airlines had the second largest share in India's democratic air travel market. Who was the founder? Vijay Mallya was the founder of Kingfisher. Why was it so popular? Kingfisher was the first Indian airline to have in-flight entertainment. Who doesn't love entertainment? When was it formed? It was formed in 2003. And when was the first flight operated? Kingfisher's first flight was operated on May 9, 2005. Achievements. The King Club won the 21st Annual Freddie Awards in 2008 in the following categories: Best Customer Service and Best Member Communication. Next slide. Thank you. Comparing contrast time. Kingfisher, the failed company. These are the reasons why it failed. Lack of long-term strategy. They frequently changed their goals, like focusing on best customer communication to focusing on the best communication on pilots now. Second, airlines was unable to make profit and keep on piling debts. So they couldn't pay all their debts, which eventually led to bankruptcy. Other reasons, they didn't pay lots of bankers, which led to court cases, which also eventually led to bankruptcy. Now the successful company, Spicejet. Once they improved customer services, they were really, really good with, since they were really, really good with prices, they didn't really have to worry about much, and their sales increased. Next slide. Thank you. How can you learn from your failures? First, find your mistakes. Once you find your mistakes, it's
Behel, we can't hear you again.
researching helps with improving too. And thank you.
Thank you, Pahel. It was really interesting to see how such a great airline company, Kingfisher, was brought down to this and became bankrupt. Now I'm going to be talking about two very famous video game companies, Nintendo and Sega. So first I'm going to talk about the successful one, Nintendo. So Nintendo was formed in 1889 and was one of the first video game companies ever made. But it wasn't really a video game company. It didn't make video games yet. Microsoft, Sega, and Sony came out much later than Nintendo. It wasn't actually known for making video games. It was known for making trading cards first. Video games were very advanced technology in the 1890s. So they didn't make video games then. But they created some of the most classic characters a lot of us play today, like Mario, Pokemon, Kirby, and much more. That's actually how Nintendo became famous. But first, it became famous by this game that's down here. It's called Game & Watch. It was the first real console actually made. It had a multiple variety of games, like this game, which is ball, where you catch balls and you throw it. There were many other games. You can see about it more if you look up online, and yeah. Now, I'm going to talk about Sega, the failed one. Sega was established in 1960 and was famous for making their most popular character, Sonic. Now, Sonic was how Sega got their fame. That's how they're at this level now. Sega became bankrupt in 2001 though, because of heavy net losses. It was a great company, but it didn't make much money. Mostly because it made partnerships with a bunch of other games, because Sega didn't have its own console. Now it helps Nintendo with games like Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. So now I'm going to compare both of them. Some differences of Nintendo and Sega was that Nintendo made a console and became popular. Sega made a game, or a character, and became popular. And also Nintendo was more of a home console company, which is actually helpful because that means you get more sales. It's more expensive to get a home console than a handheld console. Like Sega. Sega did handheld consoles. They made like a mini Atari and they made many others. Now some similarities are they use most of the same technology. When they make their games, they use like the same 3D platforming and everything. And also both of them made characters and games that revolutionized gaming in the world. Thank you. And now Ahana is going to talk about Tata and Tesla.
Okay, thank you, Rish. So, hi everyone. As I said before, I'll be talking about the success behind Tesla and the failure behind the Tata Nano. So first, I'll be talking about the Nano. A virtual attribute for the Tata brand has been its pioneering spirit. The Tatas were the first to establish a steel mill, a power company, and a five-star hospitality. In its IT service company in India, Tata companies were the first to provide branded jewelry in India. And they're the first to sell retail steel in India. The pioneering nature of the brand is well recognized. In the same way, upon its release in 2008, the Nano, a simple, innovative car made by India's Tata Motors, seemed to be designed for greatness. Go to the next slide, please. You can see a car, and in front of it is a little girl. And that was actually me when I was 4 years old in Bangalore. My family owned a Tata Nano car, and we still do. I love this car, and I felt sad about how they stopped the production because it's a really good car. The Tata rolled out their tiny vehicle to a fanfare of a host of international awards. At the price of less than $2,000, it aimed to be the simple yet efficient so that an average Indian family could afford. The Tata felt that they were sure onto something big. In the country, there are more than 1.2 billion people, but there are only 105 million cars on the road. So Tata hoped that their Nano could help fill the enormous gap. But by 2015, the automaker had sold just 250,000 vehicles. In December 2018, Tata Motors manufactured its last batch of 82 Nanos before halting the production altogether. After the innovation thinking that went into Nano's design and launch, why did the new market Tata attempt to create fail? Ratan Tata admitted the company made the mistake of promoting Nano as the cheapest car. Tata ignored the key emotional elements of its customers' experience. The automaker tried to launch Nanos as a low-cost product, but it had a second outcome. The experience of many Indian consumers, low cost often signifies poor quality. When Tata touts the Nano's low cost, it was thought of making a complete pitch. But what made many Indians heard a simple car was cheaply built. The thought of owning a machine that might break down or require frequent repair might cause frequent stress, frustration, and anxiety. The Tata unwillingly tapped into those emotions when it branded the Nano as inexpensive and risk-averaging. Consumers chose to stick with the relatable motorcycles and bicycles instead. Nano's unfortunate journey from the international acclaim to the marketing flop teaches a valuable lessons to emerging markets interpreters. When targeting needs of the non-consumers, it's usually not enough to create a cheaper version of a conveyable product. Instead, innovators need to consider of a functional, social, emotional progress people are trying to make a solution to simple struggles of face. Okay, can you go to the next slide? Okay, the Tesla. Now let's find out how the Tesla company became very famous and very successful. I'm guessing that no one here has not heard the word Tesla. Has everyone here heard the word Tesla or a person named Elon Musk? I'm guessing yes. The U.S. electrical car market witnessed the advent of the entry of the Tesla motors. Despite having many competitors, Tesla Motors dominated the electric car market. The company came into the limelight with its production of the flap car, the S model, in 2013. Not only did the Tesla car score high among car buyers, the company, the Tesla Motors, gained fame too. It earned a name of successful independent automakers, as well as known as a pioneer to the electric car market. On contrary to belief, Tesla is not an overnight success. The company was founded in 2003 by two Silicon Valley engineers. These two engineers, Mark E. Elbenher and Mark Tapender, who, according to the website, wanted to prove that electric cars could be better than gasoline-powered cars. In 2001, both of these engineers heard Elon Musk speak at a Mars Society talk at Stanford University, and they introduced themselves. Elon Musk came with a successful history of starting up companies. Elon Musk actually became the face of Tesla, and at times is mistaken as the company's founder or co-founder. Everyone here has maybe watched a Tesla launch or a SpaceX launch and the stages of its growth to space and even Mars. Electric car market has grown with a luxurious automaker such as Mendora's Bez, BMW. Jumping into the space too. Analyzers forecast that the total globe sales of electric vehicles was 300 to 200,000 units in 2014, which in one place easily exited to 500,000 in 2015. That said, Tesla's long-term success is anyone's guess. Tesla is aiming to sell at least 500,000 cars by 2020. As As with anything in life, business, there is no guarantee. There's reality of 12 years. Since importing Tesla Motors has morphed from a startup to an established industry player, what doesn't change is the extraordinary story and its pioneer to the front of electric cars. I'm so curious to learn more about the successes and failures behind these companies, which teaches a lot about them. Thank you for this opportunity and to listen to my speech.
Thank you, Ahana. I think it was really interesting to see like that whole table you made or you found about Tata. I thought it was really surprising to see that Jaguar and Land Rover and all of those were owned by Tata. It was also really interesting to hear that Elon Musk was not actually the founder of Tesla. So now Nihar is talking about Blockbuster and Netflix.
Hi everyone, my name is Nihar Thanta, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Blockbuster and Netflix. So, first, let's see some steps for success. What I've learned from this, basically, after seeing what Blockbuster could have done better, then I'll go into more depth on what Blockbuster actually did. Okay? You'd actually be very surprised on how Blockbuster could have still been in business today. So, first, make a goal. Have one goal in mind throughout the entirety of your journey. Blockbuster, one thing that they did is that they would always change and they never had a stable source. You'll see. And think and expand. Always think on how you can better your brand or how you can keep it up to date so that it's not like something that everyone will move on to or they'll see something better. And don't give up. No matter how hard something is, never give up and never back down from whatever you're trying to achieve. So now if we move on to the next slide here, Blockbuster versus Netflix. The next slide. Thank you. So Blockbuster versus Netflix. So what is Blockbuster? Blockbuster was a movie and video game rental store. So it was for adults and kids. So they were successful in the beginning and had over 400 branches open. But that's when Netflix came along, and then a series of problems started to follow them from there. So Netflix, it was just a young industry when it was starting off, and it was just like Blockbuster. It was like kind of trying to follow what they did, and then in the next slide I'll show you why Blockbuster failed and Netflix prospered. But don't change yet, please. So basically, here in this slide here, we can see that Blockbuster and I said Netflix was a young industry. When Netflix first came out, Blockbuster, fun fact, it actually not seen it as competition at all, even though it was clearly competition. Many people even saw this and tried telling them, but they did not listen. So why did Blockbuster fail? Next slide, please. So why did Blockbuster fail? To put into simple terms, that Blockbuster was not at all up to date. Okay, so Blockbuster had you could rent things, but you would have to go in store, which made it inconvenient, which made it time consuming, and you also need a VCR to play these movies. So that was actually something that they didn't actually take into account for, that many people didn't have a VCR then because it was actually expensive. And even if they did have CDs, Netflix at the time actually was online. So it was much more not time consuming. It was a lot less stressful to go in. And Blockbuster also had something called a late fee. A late fee was each time you didn't bring the CD back on the day it was supposed to be, each day they would charge you a certain amount of money. That certain amount of money was very annoying for everyone there because Blockbuster admitted that from a late fee, how much money do you think they made in a year? Okay, let's say maybe $100 million because of all the branches open. 200 million? No, they made over $800 million just from the late fees. That was absurd to me. That late fees costed if it's $800 million in total, and let's say there's many branches, the late fee had to have been high. Let's say it would be $10 a day. That's horrible. For Blockbuster, Netflix as well. Netflix, since it was online, would actually even recommend stuff to you that you would like in the future. Blockbuster didn't have any of that because it was an in-store thing. So in conclusion, over here, Netflix was also a little less cheaper because it was a one-time subscription, which you would just pay each time. For Blockbuster, you would have to rent out the CD or video game, and you would also have to pay the late fee if that were ever to occur. And later on, Blockbuster saw Netflix, and Blockbuster could have actually bought Netflix for $50 million. But Blockbuster just were like, oh, I'm not going to do that. And their hubris got the better of them. And they didn't see Netflix as a challenge. But then later on, Netflix actually became greater than Blockbuster. And Blockbuster seeing this, they were panicking. They didn't know what to do. So remember how I told you their late fees happened? Those late fees were actually removed in an effort to overtake Netflix again. But sadly, it was too late. And next slide. So in conclusion, Blockbuster failed because they were not up to date at all. They charged way too much. And two things you can learn from this is not to have hubris, because this all could have ended if Blockbuster literally just bought Netflix. They didn't do that because they I in the articles that I've read, Blockbuster in a way just laughed Netflix out of the room, saying that you're not worth that money. I'm not gonna buy you. So Netflix and then later the owner of Netflix, like as you know, overtook them, and Netflix is literally everywhere now. And another thing is try to think ahead, try to think of how I said in the beginning. Always try to expand your goal, always try to improve upon it, because if you don't think ahead, something like Netflix could come along, which is 100 times more better than, because it's online and it gives you recommendations, other than Blockbuster, which is in store and didn't give you recommendations and costed a lot. So always try to think on how you can improve upon your item. Thank you.
Thank you, Nihar. I think it was really interesting about the late fees. I did not know it would be about 800 million. When I think about late fees, I think about probably like $50, not 800 million in total. So now Virat's going to talk about LG and Radio Shack.
Like Arush said, and I said earlier, I'm going to be talking about LG and Radio Shack. For the failing company, I chose Radio Shack, and for the successful company, I chose LG. Don't be mistaken, and I did say Radio Shack, and some of you might note that Radio Shack is still up and running. Yes, it is up and running, but it was bought by another company, and previously it failed and went bankrupt before. So that's why I'm mentioning it. So here I have 5 phases that all businesses go through, and so I'll be explaining why LG and Radio Shack got through these barriers or failed trying to. We first have phase 1, growth through creativity. If you're creative with your innovative designs, then you'll definitely pass this one. Growth through direction. You need to have a direction. LG had a direction of household appliances. Radio Shack first went with wireless. Phase 3, growth through coordination. You have to coordinate your team, resources, and all kinds of things into one specific area, and you want to see how efficiently you can coordinate. And Radio Shack might have been stuck on this one. Radio Shack definitely did not pass phase 4, but at least Radio Shack did a really good job and now is succeeding a lot. And phase 4, grow through collaboration. You collaborate with other people, organizations, and things like that to get more help and see what you can do. And phase 5, grow through alliances. Now you can create alliances which will stay long term, helping you with products and things like that. And one thing that has happened is that LG had Ingram Sales and Distribution Partner, which is an alliance, and they do it in many countries, India included. And so that's how they were very successful. On to the next slide, where I talk about the rise and fall of Radio Shack. So, the rise and fall of Radio Shack. What was it? What did Radio Shack fail in, and what did they rise in now? Well, they fell because, like, earlier they were doing really well, but they missed out on a lot of technical progress. By the second century, everybody surpassed them in all the technologies that they were in, like wireless technologies and all the things that they were producing earlier. They did have good processors and good computers then, but others got even more efficient ones, and Radio Shack decided not to change their technologies, so they missed out on the new things, and they were gone. Radio Shack was bought and is no more dead, so here comes the rise of Radio Shack. Radio Shack's mission slash goal was to help a lot of people with affordable technology for the masses and not luxuries for the riches. So we'll see that that motive was actually kind of similar to what LG's motive was. And General Wireless Inc. bought the company. And like I said, Radio Shack did work on wireless then. And did you know that Radio Shack was founded in 1921? And this year it's going to be the 100th year anniversary of Radio Shack. Wow, that's a long time Radio Shack has been. Now Radio Shack is a very excelling technology manufacturer. They created a lot of things, and especially they work on household appliances that can be solved using electronics. So basically allowing life to be easier with technologies. On the next slide, we'll talk about LG. Now, did you know that LG actually had an abbreviation? I want you to guess what it means. Well, it means life good. LG means life good, and what they did was see if they could solve any problems using technologies, and they just solved household problems around around your house, and they looked around and wanted to make life easier with engineering and technologies. So that's why they got so much fame, and so a lot of people bought them. I mean, like, you can't just be manufacturing so many big things like computers and quantum computers and like let's say a business on all those complex things come, but like, why all those when the basic needs and comfort of a house was never fulfilled with technologies? Well, Lifecode did exactly that, and they helped a lot of people just with life instead of putting big things for the mass, for big things for the people with a lot of money. So, on the next slide, I'll talk about the phases, and I'll show you all the phases that I showed you that all businesses go through. But on the no, not yet. Thank you. Okay, and I'll talk about the category now, since they helped out a lot in the companies, and especially I said that phase 3 to 5 was basically about helping people, making friends and alliances, and just putting up high grounds so nobody takes you down. Basically like playing King of the Hill. And household appliances with affordable solutions which was solved during with technology and engineering, and for the masses these solutions were very excellent, and with that engineering they got themselves a lot of pride. Now there was a lot of other things that they did well, but I'll mention it in the next slide. Now we can move on. There we go. Now this is just like what I showed you last time, but now I'm going to be telling you about LG. LG first had phase one, growth through creativity. They would create innovative designs and cool ones that people would like and would want to have around the house, like putting fun things inside the house, like a minion, let's say a minion themed pencil sharpener. Yes, that'll be really creative and fun for people to have it around. And phase two, growth to growth through direction. They had a big direction of household appliances, and they helped out a lot with a lot of people, and that got them a lot of sales, kick-started them, and moved them on to the next phase. Next phase, growth through coordination. Now this is the part where things get uphill and downhill at the same time. It's just like a very rough terrain that you had to go through. Growth through coordination. You have to spend all your resources and people and your team to guide to a specific direction, and you want to do it efficiently. So you don't have like your sales team is working on advertisements, but like the rest of your company is already good with advertising, and then someone just produced way too many ads, then that's not going to bring your company any good. You spent way too many resources on ads, and your company is going to fail. Phase 4, growth through collaboration. You need to collaborate with other companies and people and see what you can do to make your company have a good image. And you also want to increase your technologies through collaboration. Like, like let's say that LG partnered up with Apple, then they would partner up and ask them if they can help with some of the technologies they had. This is just an example. They did not pair up with Apple. And on phase 5, growth through alliances. Like I mentioned, they did have of a partner, which alliance, which is Ingram Sales and Distribution Partner. And Ingram helped them a lot by distributing their product. They had the sales team up, and they did it in a lot of countries, so that also got them a lot of pride. If you don't change your diversity, then you're gonna be gone. So, like, there are a lot of things to consider about LG, but these are all the things that I think that LG succeeded in that Radio Shack didn't. So, in conclusion, I'm saying that you need to be very diverse in your topics, and you need to change over time, and you need to be really creative with your designs. Have a good direction, being a very good coordinator, and collaborating really well. So, those are things that you need to keep in mind about any business. If not, then definitely the business is going to fail. That's all. Thank you, and bye.
Thank you, Vera. It was really nice to hear how Radio Shack was still around. I was always wondering. I thought it I thought it was bankrupt. What happened? And thank you. So now we have our guest speaker Vish talking about aerospace.
Hello, I'll be talking about aerospace, and for successful, I'll be talking of Boeing. It's known for being the leading aerospace company. Its leaded what its success came through a lot of things it's done in its past, such first Boeing was created in 1916. Boeing had made a deal with Embraer, which we'll be talking about as the failed one. Boeing went bankrupt at a time when their deal with Embraer broke from the 737 MAX model. The COVID crisis had done the fatal blow for Boeing, and losing 26% of its value, and it had significant cash flow losses. But regardless of the bankruptcy, Boeing made it through when they managing to make it through with their $4.2 billion. And they managed to hold the foothold of the 100 to 150 seater market. And then we'll be talking about Embraer, like I said, the company that made a deal with Boeing. Embraer fell apart when Embraer made a deal with Boeing. Embraer is a Brazil company made at the same time Boeing was, and made its deal a few months as soon as it was made. But Embraer depended a little too much on its deal with Boeing, and when Boeing went back on the deal, Embraer had a huge drop and loss of alliances when the deal fell apart. The reason Boeing pointed fingers was they claimed that Embraer had failed to comply the requirements that outlined the contract. Despite the failure to broker a deal, Embraer left with a broken heart. The aviation company had 3 potential suitors: China's Comac, Irkutsk from Russia, and the government of India. China may prove to be a fierce competitor with promising plans to develop a new 150-seater. Likewise, Embraer would be lucky to get their hands on Russia's MS-21. India has plans for a smaller regional jet that may appeal to Embraer's knack for planes with 80 to 90 seaters. Out of all the companies vying for Embraer's heart, India would benefit the most from a partnership. They're behind in all the command of commercial sector, and Embraer would provide leverage against competitors in China. India also appears to be the most serious about a deal, while the others simply enjoy video shopping. Window shopping, I mean.
Thank you,
And
Krish.
but the deal trying to make with India is being delayed due to several factors. Their earnings were down the first quarter of 2020, which doesn't leave them very much cash to compete with other partnerships happening in the aviation industry. Embraer is confident they'll bounce back once the pandemic blows over, but the other companies aren't willing to take a leap of faith just yet. Political tensions also are one. Embraer has a strong alliance with the Brazilian government and depends on their approval. A partnership between Embraer and a company based in Brazil and China's Comac would be a controversial move on the part of Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro. On the flip side, Brazil and India have shown zero qualms working with each other in the past. Once again, India proves to be the frontrunner. All significant players looking at Embraer will have to wait until the aviation industry can makes a comeback post-pandemic. No one, not even Embraer, has made the strides towards a deal. All the companies have experienced financial fallout to some degree, so a partnership still comes with hurdles and obstacles at a time of general economic striffle. Can you click on those?
Yeah, Vish, I know you have very interesting points, but due to we are already, it's 5:02. So do you have anything else to share? Or if you can just put in a nutshell and let others know we are running out of
Yeah,
time.
I'm good. I'm done.
Yeah. So you have any other side?
There's a few other animations I put in.
Okay, so we'll definitely hear about that. But before, just wanted to know if anybody else who has joined as attendee wants to share their thoughts, something unique that they have come to know about a business of their success or failure, or something they want to share.
I can share a few thoughts. I'm the second guest speaker.
Yes, please go ahead, Pranav.
So my name is Pranav Ranganti. I'm an 8th grader at Bowen Park Middle School, and I'll be talking about famous smartphone brands. So I believe there's probably like every one of you at least has one family member that has an Apple or Android phone. I mean, it's pretty obvious because Apple and Android are one of the most famous brands, but that's not what I'm going to be talking about today because Apple and Android are meh. But I'll be focusing my opinion on some of the most brilliant smartphone companies that I believe are ever made. So the companies that I'll be talking about are OnePlus, Huawei, and Xiaomi. So I'll focus on Xiaomi because they're all mostly the same thing. So all three of these companies capitalize on the most looked feature for a phone. If you're going to go on the market, for example, you're going to go on Amazon, you're looking, hey, I need a new phone. You find a phone that's worth $1,500, but it looks awesome. Are you going to buy it? Probably not, because you're not going to spend that much on the phone. You're going to go look at a phone that's about 600 or 700 or something like that. So the low price is what you're going to look for. Apple has all amazing phones, but they don't have the low prices like these guys, these companies simulate. So Huawei and OnePlus and Xiaomi have all capitalized on that and have recently grown exponentially in popularity. Me myself, when I was selecting a phone when I went into 8th grade, I was selecting a phone for myself and I was actually looking at Xiaomi. I was debating whether to buy Xiaomi or Samsung. I never thought I'd do that. I never thought I'd debate Samsung for a Chinese company that I have no idea, but it is so good. In OnePlus, they've released so many phones that are $400. Like, come on, who's not going to buy that? They've capitalized on the most looked feature, which I think is brilliant. So for my fails, I believe there are obviously many fails, but I think one of the most cringe and one of the most loved smartphones that failed is BlackBerry. And I'm sure most of you heard BlackBerry, especially adults. My dad used to have a BlackBerry, well, like his first office phone when he first joined and stuff. He used to have a BlackBerry. Before Samsung and Apple and all of these famous companies that came up, including Xiaomi, Huawei, and OnePlus, BlackBerry was like the thing. It was the thing of the thing. Like, you would get a BlackBerry if you wanted a phone, because BlackBerry was so secure, it was so durable, it had an awesome battery life, and everybody loved it. And you had that cool flip, like, little type pad thingy, like a little laptop in your pocket. Isn't that cool? But the thing is, when Apple showed up, they introduced this no, like, you don't have, if you don't have to have that massive thick, like, keyboard on the back of it. It's just all touchscreen. The whole thing is touchscreen. It's much more powerful. BlackBerry was like, they're probably gonna die or something. We're still popular, but the thing is, they weren't. Apple was slowly taking over the market, and once they took over the market, BlackBerry still didn't notice that. And that's when BlackBerry realized, once they were starting to go bankrupt, that they should have listened to literally everybody in the entire world screaming for BlackBerry to make phones like Apple. Now, I'm pretty sure if BlackBerry started making phones like Apple the moment Apple released their phone, BlackBerry would have been still a competitor amongst Apple and Samsung. They might have been one of those top Samsung or Apple like companies that rich. But BlackBerry died. I mean, how many times do you go up to a guy and ask, "Hey, what phone do you have?" And he shows a new. It's like, "Oh man, I got a BlackBerry. Oh, look at this. It looks so cool." Nobody ever does that. Nobody ever has a. Nobody has a BlackBerry. I'm pretty sure nobody does, because BlackBerry is like still continuing their market, but like I think they get like 2 buys every phone. It's like dead. It used to be awesome. So I think what we can learn from this, if you're ever gonna start a company, is the fact that you have to listen to the market and you have to be aware. When something else is gonna come and dominate the market, you can't just stand there and think your product is still gonna survive, because business is a harsh environment. So that's my insight on businesses successful and failed. Thank you.
Thank you, Pranav, and thank you, Vish, too. Those were two amazing presentations. And so now we've heard all of our wonderful companies, failed or successful. And I'm surprised all of those popular companies like BlackBerry and Kingfisher, all of those became bankrupt. I'm really surprised. So now we're going to have our interaction and Q&A session. So if anyone has any questions, you can put it in the Zoom chat or the YouTube chat, whatever you're watching it on.
Yeah, and thank you, youth. It was a fantastic presentation with very meaningful and thoughtful insights. Yes, from anyone who has joined in from the community, if you want to interact or put your opinion out or feedback, please do so. Unmute and do so. Or else, Arush, we can quickly wrap this up. We have another session, as I said, at 5:30. It will be on this new startup, something amazing going on about your goals and how to gamify it. So we are all, we like fun, we like games, but how to put that game, that fun into real action and achieve something out of it. So if you're excited, you want to know more about it, please join us in 20 minutes. We'll be having this orientation by Anirudh, he and the Let Us Talk It team. So please do join in. It's the same Zoom link. Yeah, Arush, you can go ahead.
Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you guys for joining our webinar. And yeah.
Yes, so yes, all of you who have joined